Hey everyone, tonight, we're beginning a brand new journey, one that will take us far across the mountains and plains of ancient China. We're going to step into the life of someone who lived in the shadow of one of history's most famous monuments, not as an emperor or a general, but as the countless ordinary people who labored, day after day, to build what would come to be known as the Great Wall. Before we begin, if you enjoy these nighttime travels, consider leaving a like on the video. It really does help. And if you'd like, share in the comments what time it is for you right now, and where in the world you're listening from. I always find it so fascinating, seeing these stories reach people across different places and hours of the night. And if you'd like to come along for more journeys like this one, you're welcome to subscribe. Only if you feel it's something you truly enjoy. Now, settle yourself in, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan or some soft background sound, and let's ease our way together into another life, another world, far from here. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the 3rd century before our time. The dynasty of Qin still rules, and in the northern reaches of its territory, men are being conscripted in the tens of thousands to build a wall, a vast, almost unimaginable barrier of packed earth, stone, and timber, stretching across mountains and deserts. You are one of those men. Your bed is nothing more than a patch of dry earth beneath a temporary shelter, a small collection of branches and straw lashed together against the biting wind. There is no pillow, no blanket soft enough to call comfortable, only a rough hemp cloth you've been given to wrap around your shoulders, stiff with dust and smelling faintly of smoke. You share this shelter with several others, men pulled from villages just like yours, each of them weary, each of them coughing or snoring, or lying awake with the same thoughts you have, of home, of family, of the endless work that waits when the sun rises. The air is cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones before dawn. Your breath fogs in front of you, a faint white cloud in the dimness. Outside, the wind stirs the dust and rattles the branches, carrying with it the faint sound of men shifting in their sleep, and further off, the bray of a donkey, the muffled barking of dogs kept near the camp. You lie still for a moment, listening, the rhythm of the world here, heavy and relentless. There are no church bells, no gentle calls. When the overseer's gong sounds, there will be no mistaking it. It will cut through the silence like a blade, summoning everyone to rise, to stumble from their shelters and prepare for another day of back-breaking labor. But for now, there is only the in-between. You blink against the dark, feeling the grit of sand still in your eyes. Your body aches, every muscle tight from yesterday's hauling and digging. It is the kind of pain that lingers, not sharp but constant, a dull reminder that you are alive only so that more earth can be moved, more stone set into place. As you slowly push yourself upright, the shelter creaks slightly. A few of the men around you shift, groaning, pulling their coverings tighter. You glance out at the horizon. The sky is just beginning to lighten, a pale grey strip beyond the dark outline of the hills. Soon the sun will rise, and with it, the long day. You step outside, brushing dust from your hemp tunic. The ground is hard beneath your feet, packed dirt trampled by hundreds of men. The camp is a sprawl of makeshift huts and lean-tos, smoke curling from a few scattered fires where those assigned to cooking duties have begun their morning work. The smell of thin millet porridge wafts through the air, mingled with the acrid scent of smoke and the sharper tang of sweat. Even in this early hour, somewhere beyond the camp, you can see the wall itself, or at least the beginnings of it. A wide ramp of earth and stone, its sides rough and jagged, stretching upward into the hills. It seems impossibly massive when you stand near it, higher than a man, higher than a house, And yet you know that in the eyes of those commanding its construction, it is still far from complete. It is only a fragment of what is demanded, one small section in thousands. Your stomach rumbles, and you make your way toward the fire pits. The porridge is ladled out in crude wooden bowls, steaming and bland. You take one and crouch near the fire, warming your hands as you eat. Around you, other men do the same, faces still half in shadow, eyes sunken with weariness. A few talk quietly, their voices carrying low and tired. Others eat in silence, conserving their energy for the hours ahead. The taste is simple, boiled millet, little else. It sticks to your teeth, heavy in your mouth, but it fills the emptiness in your belly. You eat slowly, savoring the warmth more than the flavor. As you finish, the sound comes, the overseer's gong, struck with force. It echoes through the camp, a hollow, metallic clang that cuts through fire crackle and murmured voices. Conversations cease, bowls are set aside. Men rise, some reluctantly, some quickly, and the tide of bodies begins to move toward the work site. You join them, your legs heavy but steady. The path is uneven, scattered with stones, and dust rises with each step. Ahead, the wall looms larger, its slope catching the faint light of the rising sun. The overseers stand waiting, rods in their hands, their expressions stern. No one lingers. Everyone knows the punishment for lagging, a whip slash or worse. The day begins. Tools are distributed, baskets woven from reeds, picks of wood with iron tips, shovels rough and splintered. Your hands already bear the marks of these tools, calluses rubbed raw, blisters that have hardened into cracked skin. You take a basket, hoisting it over your shoulder. Its weight will soon be filled with earth and stone. Work is divided in a rhythm learned quickly, but felt endlessly. Some dig, loosening the soil, others haul, carrying baskets to the growing ramparts. Others tamp the earth, packing it down with wooden mallets, layer upon layer, until the mass hardens into the foundation of the wall. You are among the haulers today. The sun lifts higher, spilling gold across the hills. Its light is beautiful, but it carries no comfort. Already the air warms, and you know the heat will become punishing before midday. Sweat beads along your forehead as you stoop to fill your basket, lifting with a grunt. The straps bite into your shoulder, and the path to the rampart seems longer with each trip. Around you, the sounds of labor echo, the thud of shovels, the scrape of stone, the grunt of men lifting. Overseers shouting commands, the dull, rhythmic pounding of tampers striking earth. It becomes almost hypnotic, a constant drone of exertion and authority. Trip after trip, load after load, your arms burn, your back screams with effort. The world narrows to the rise and fall of your steps. The dust in your mouth, the weight of the basket digging into your skin. And yet, amid the exhaustion, there are moments. A fellow laborer glances at you with a faint smile as you pass, a silent acknowledgement of shared suffering. A cool breeze stirs briefly, carrying with it the scent of pine from the nearby hills. The overseer's shadow passes, but for once, his rod does not strike. You keep walking. This is your life now, each day much the same as the last. The wall rises slowly, impossibly slowly, and you rise with it, stone by stone, breath by breath. And so the morning stretches on, the sky brightening, the air thickening with dust and heat, as you continue your endless labor beneath the weight of empire and the shadow of history. The morning's work carries you steadily toward the heat of the day, each trip to the rampart marked by the same motions, the same sounds, the same ache growing in your limbs. At first, You feel it in your shoulders and your back, but as the hours pass, it spreads into your legs, your arms, even your chest. Each breath draws in dust. Each exhale feels heavier than the one before. The sun climbs higher, no longer golden, but a pale, merciless disk suspended above the hills. Its light pours across the land, stripping away shadows, baking the earth until the ground itself feels hot beneath your feet. The wall gleams in the brightness, its surface a sharp, raw color of packed earth, jagged edges not yet smoothed by time. Around you, the other laborers work with the same weary rhythm. Some bend low with shovels, their shoulders slick with sweat. Others stagger beneath the weight of stone baskets, their tunics darkened with dust and dampness. The overseers patrol the length of the site, their voices sharp, rods always ready to strike at anyone who slows too much or falters under the strain. You keep your head down, your step steady, willing your body to obey even as it protests. By mid-morning, the air is thick, every breath feels dry, as if the world has been reduced to grit and sunlight. Your lips crack, and your tongue feels swollen in your mouth. The thin porridge you ate at dawn has long since burned away, leaving only hunger behind. But the work continues, unbroken. The only pause is allowed brief moments to wipe your brow or shift the weight on your shoulders. And yet, even in this endless grind, you find yourself noticing the details. A bird circles high above, its shadow passing briefly over the workers below. The mountains in the distance rise like dark teeth, sharp and unmoving, their slopes veiled in a blue haze. The wall itself, though crude in places, seems to stretch endlessly, climbing and dipping with the land, disappearing into the horizon. You can't imagine its end, nor its beginning. You only know the section before you, the part you are forced to build with your hands. As the hours pass, fatigue becomes something you wear, like another layer of clothing. Your tunic sticks to your back, damp with sweat, and the dust clings to every surface of your skin. Your hands throb where the rough basket has cut into them, small cracks opening where blisters once were. The straps rub against your shoulders, leaving deep grooves, darkened with dirt. Still, you walk. Still, you lift. Still, you dump the earth where the rampart grows. The overseers bark, the tools strike, the tampers pound. The rhythm continues, unbroken, relentless. By the time the sun stands nearly overhead, the heat is blinding, the sky is so bright it hurts to look at, and the ground shimmers with the faint wavering of rising air. The workers move more slowly now, their steps dragging, their breathing labored. A few stumble, catching themselves with trembling arms. When someone collapses outright, they are dragged aside, left in the shade of the wall to recover, or not. The overseers rarely pause for such things. You push through the heat, your mind drifting in the haze of exhaustion. The world feels smaller somehow, reduced to the narrow strip of path beneath your feet. The basket digging into your shoulder, the sound of your own breathing in your ears. It is during one of these trips that you catch a glimpse of something that pulls you back, just for a moment. A fellow worker, older than most, his beard streaked with grey, pauses to straighten his back. His face is lined with strain, but his eyes lift toward the horizon. For the briefest instant, his expression softens, as if he is seeing something beyond the wall, beyond the work, beyond the endless dust. Maybe he imagines his village, his family. Maybe he simply remembers the quiet of a day without labor. The overseer's shout jolts him, and he hurries on, basket swaying. But that moment lingers in your mind, a reminder that each man here carries not just a body, but a story, a life dragged into this place, a thread pulled into the vast tapestry of the Empire's will. Finally, at the height of the day, the overseers call a pause. It is not mercy, it is necessity. Even the most relentless hand cannot drive men in the full blaze of the sun without risking collapse. The gong sounds again, its metallic voice announcing a brief respite. You lower your basket with relief, your arms trembling as the weight slips from your shoulders. Your breath comes ragged, your chest rising and falling as if it has been squeezed in a vice. Around you, men drop where they stand, some sinking to the ground, others leaning against tools or stones, their faces flushed and streaked with sweat. You move toward the edge of the camp where jars of water have been placed, precious and limited. You cup your hands, dipping them into the jar, lifting the coolness to your lips. The taste is faintly metallic, tinged with earth, but to you it is the sweetest drink imaginable. The water runs down your throat, soothing the dryness, washing away the dust. You splash a little on your face, feeling the grit loosen, though the relief is only temporary. The meal that follows is simple, as always, more millet, this time with a handful of boiled greens stirred in. The portion is small, barely enough to fill your stomach, but it gives you just enough strength to continue. You eat slowly, sitting in the thin shade cast by the rising wall. The packed earth at your back radiates heat, but at least it shields you from the direct glare above. As you eat, you let your gaze wander. You notice the way the wall curves with the landscape, following ridges and valleys. You notice the scaffolding of logs and ropes that rise where the wall climbs steeper slopes, men like ants clambering up and down. You notice the endless dust rising in small clouds wherever shovels strike the ground, and you notice the silence between the sounds, those few moments when no one speaks, when even the overseers are quiet, when the only noise is the wind carrying grit across the stones. In those moments, the wall feels less like a project, less like a prison, and more like a presence, something vast and immovable, something beyond human scale. But the silence never lasts long. Soon the overseers call again, their voices cutting through the stillness. The break is over, tools are lifted, baskets are filled, the rhythm resumes. Your body protests as you stand, your muscles stiff from the brief rest, but there is no choice. You shoulder the weight again, feeling it press against the tender grooves of your skin. The sun has shifted slightly, but its heat is still punishing, a constant weight pressing down from above. And so you return to the path, one step at a time, dust rising around your ankles, the wall looming ever higher. The afternoon stretches before you, long and unbroken, a mirror of the morning. There will be more digging, more hauling, more tamping. There will be more sweat, more dust, more aching limbs. But somewhere, in the slow march of hours, the sun will begin to lower, and the heat will ease, and the day will eventually end. For now, though, there is only the work, the endless, grinding work beneath the sun. Each load carried, each stone placed, each breath drawn in a world that feels as if it belongs more to the Empire than to you. And so you continue, a single figure among thousands, shaping the wall with your hands, step by step, breath by breath, beneath the gaze of history and the silence of the mountains. The hours crawl by with the slowness of exhaustion, the sky a pale expanse of brightness that seems to refuse to dim. Yet, as the sun begins its long descent toward the west, a subtle shift stirs in the air. The heat, though still heavy, carries less of its earlier bite. The shadows, once reduced to narrow lines at your feet, begin to stretch, sliding slowly across the ground. Your body, however, feels heavier with every passing moment. The straps of the basket dig into grooves worn deep into your shoulders, so tender now that even shifting them brings a dull ache. Your hands are stiff from gripping tools and ropes, the skin cracked in thin lines that sting with sweat. Your legs carry you out of habit more than strength, each step driven by rhythm rather than will. The overseers still prowl, rods in hand, their eyes sharp for signs of faltering, but even they seem slightly dulled by the waning day. Their shouts are less frequent, their pace slower. Perhaps they, too, feel the weight of the hours, though they will never admit it. Around you, the other workers move with the same mechanical persistence, each man trapped within his own circle of labor. Yet in these later hours, when the sun softens and the shadows lengthen, there is space for the smallest exchanges. On one trip toward the ramparts, you walk alongside a younger man, little more than a boy, his frame wiry and not yet hardened by years of toil. His basket sways unsteadily on his back, and his face is flushed, his breaths quick and shallow. For a while, you simply move side by side, the silence between you filled with the crunch of dust beneath your feet. Then, almost without meaning to, you offer him a brief glance, a faint nod. He looks back, his eyes wide, tired, but grateful. He nods in return. No words are spoken, none are needed. In that simple gesture, there is acknowledgement, a fragile thread of connection in a world designed to strip you of it. Later, as you return with another load, you notice the men trading places at the tamping pit, one stepping back to stretch his shoulders, while the other moves forward to take his place. They do not smile, but the relief in their eyes is plain. For a moment, it feels almost like cooperation, a sliver of humanity tucked beneath the overseer's gaze. These moments are brief, fleeting, and easily missed, but you hold on to them. They soften the grind, reminding you that you are not entirely alone within this endless labor. Each man is a mirror of your own struggle, each carrying his own story, his own pain. By late afternoon, the air has changed again. A faint breeze stirs from the north, carrying with it the scent of distant grasses, a hint of coolness that brushes against your skin. It does not last long, but even that small relief is enough to draw your attention. You lift your face slightly, letting the air pass over you, savoring its difference from the stifling heat. The landscape, too, begins to shift. The mountains to the west deepen in color, their slopes painted in shades of blue and gray. The wall, which seemed harsh and raw in the noonday light, now glows with a softer hue, its earthen surface catching the angled sun. Dust hangs in the air, golden in the fading light, turning the world hazy, dreamlike. Work continues, of course. It always continues. More earth is dug, more stones carried, more tamping done. The rhythm does not break, simply because the day softens. Yet within this rhythm, you find yourself moving with a touch less urgency, as if your body knows the end of the day is approaching. Each step is still heavy, each breath still labored, but there is a faint undercurrent of endurance, the knowledge that you can last a little longer. That rest, however brief, is not far away. As the sun dips lower, the overseer's calls grow sharper again, driving the workers to finish what must be done before the day ends. Tools strike harder, baskets move faster. The sound of tampers rises in unison, thudding in a steady, almost desperate rhythm. It is as though the wall itself demands its due before night falls. You force your body into this final push, your muscles trembling but still obeying. The dust rises thicker now, clinging to the sweat on your skin, coating your hair, your lashes. The taste of it fills your mouth, bitter and dry. Yet you keep moving, the momentum of the day carrying you through its final stretch. Then, at last, the call sounds. The overseers strike the gong, its deep note rolling across the camp. The day's labor is done, relief floods you, weak but undeniable. The tools are dropped, baskets set aside. Men sink to the ground where they stand, some lying flat on the earth, others sitting with heads bowed. The silence that follows is heavy, filled only with the ragged sound of breathing, the occasional cough. You lower yourself slowly, your legs trembling as if they no longer trust the weight of your body. The ground is hard, uneven, but it feels like luxury compared to the strain of standing. You let your arms rest in your lap, your head tilted back slightly, eyes half closed against the dimming light. The overseers move among the workers, counting, checking, making sure none have slipped away. Their presence is a shadow, even in this moment of relief, but for once their rods are quiet, their voice is less sharp. The day's work is finished, and even they must yield to the setting sun. Soon, the evening meal is distributed, more millet, thicker this time, with a few scattered beans mixed in. The portion is small, but after the endless labor, it tastes almost rich. You eat slowly, savoring each bite, the warmth of the food spreading through your stomach, dulling the gnaw of hunger. As you eat, the world around you continues to change. The sky deepens, streaks of orange and red painted across the horizon. The mountains darken to silhouettes, sharp against the glow. The air grows cooler, the dust settling at last, leaving a faint stillness in its place. The wall, too, changes. In the fading light, it no longer looks harsh or jagged. It stands quiet, solemn, its long lines stretching into shadow. For a moment, it feels less like a burden, less like a wound carved into the land, and more like a monument, though you know well the price it demands of those who build it. You sit in that stillness, the sounds of the camp softening around you. Some men murmur to one another, their voices low, speaking of home, or food, or nothing at all. Others lie down without a word, sleep pulling them swiftly into its embrace. A few stare into the distance, their eyes following the line of the wall as it disappears into the darkening hills. You find yourself doing the same, your gaze lingering on that endless curve. It is impossible to see its end, just as it was impossible in the morning, yet in the quiet of evening, it feels less like a prison and more like a horizon, something vast and unknowable. The breeze returns, stronger now, cool against your skin. You close your eyes briefly, letting it wash over you, carrying away the heat, the dust, the fatigue. For the first time all day, your body begins to loosen, the tension easing from your muscles, the weight lifting just enough to remind you what it feels like to rest. Night is coming, and with it, the brief reprieve of sleep. Tomorrow will bring the same labor, the same dust, the same unyielding rhythm. But for now, there is this moment, the stillness of dusk, the quiet of the camp, the vastness of the wall fading into shadow. You sit with it, breathing slowly, watching the last light slip away. And in that fragile space between day and night, between toil and rest, you feel a flicker of something close to peace. The day finally surrenders to night. Slowly, the last light fades from the western horizon, the glow shrinking until only a faint band of red lingers above the mountains. Then, as if the sky itself exhales, darkness spreads across the land. The camp grows quiet, not all at once, but gradually, like embers dying out after a fire. Voices soften, movements slow. Even the overseers, their rods still at their sides, seem smaller in the dusk, their power diminished by the absence of the sun. You remain seated for a while, feeling the coolness deepen. It seeps into your skin, washing away the heat of the day. The air carries the faint smell of dust, sweat, and smoke, but also something gentler, the sharpness of mountain grasses, the freshness of wind that has traveled far from the northern steppes. You lift your face slightly, inhaling, grateful for the change. Around the camp, small fires begin to glow. Workers gather scraps of wood, bits of brush, anything that will burn. The flames are low, flickering, fragile against the vast dark. Yet they cast just enough light to push back the night, to carve small circles of warmth amid the endless shadow. You find yourself drawn to one of these fires, your body still heavy, but your spirit needing that faint comfort. Others sit there already. A few men crouch close, hands extended toward the warmth, their faces lined with fatigue. They speak in murmurs, voices too soft to catch every word, but the tone is clear, a mix of weariness and longing. They speak of distant villages, of wives and children, of fields left untended. You hear the name of a river, the name of a town you do not know, spoken like a prayer. You do not add your voice, but you listen, letting the words settle into you. In them is the reminder that each man here carries a life beyond this place, memories and hopes woven into every breath. It comforts you, though it also stirs the ache of your own longing, the thought of home and the faces you have not seen for many months. Above, the sky has transformed. With the sun gone, the stars emerge, one by one, until they fill the heavens. They shine with a clarity I have never seen in the crowded lowlands, so sharp and bright they almost feel close enough to touch. The Milky Way stretches across the sky, a river of light, flowing endlessly from one horizon to the other. You tilt your head back, eyes tracing its path, feeling yourself grow small beneath its immensity. The wall itself becomes something different at night, no longer harsh and glaring under the sun. It blends into the land, a dark silhouette that snakes across the ridges. Its line is quieter now, less like a wound and more like a shadow presence, watching over the camp in silence. You study its shape in the moonlight, its curves softened by darkness. For a moment, it almost seems to dissolve into the mountains, as if it has always been there, a natural feature, rather than something carved by human hands. The meal you ate earlier settles heavily in your stomach, dulling the sharpest edge of hunger. Your limbs loosen little by little, the muscles still sore, but no longer burning with strain. Around you, the murmurs at the fire continue, punctuated by the occasional crackle of sparks. Someone lets out a quiet laugh, brief but genuine, before it fades into the night. The sound feels startling, a reminder that even here, laughter has not been entirely extinguished. You remain by the fire until your eyes begin to grow heavy. Sleep pulls at you, slow and insistent. Around the camp, others are already lying down, curling onto mats of straw or onto the bare ground. Some wrap themselves in thin blankets or cloaks, their forms hunched against the cool. Others simply collapse as they are, too tired to bother with comfort. At last, you ease yourself down as well. The earth is hard beneath you, uneven and cold, but after the endless strain of the day, it feels like relief. You pull your thin covering close, curling onto your side, your body instinctively seeking warmth. The fire flickers nearby, its glow soft against your face, its heat faint but welcome. The sounds of the camp fade into a quiet lull. A cough here, a murmur there, the shifting of bodies against the ground. Beyond that, only the wind moves, whispering over the land, rattling through dry grasses. The world feels vast and empty, the silence so deep it almost hums. As your eyes close, images linger, the stars above, sharp and countless. The wall, stretching into the darkness, the faces of the men around the fire, tired but alive, each carrying his own burden. And somewhere, beyond the reach of your sight, the memory of home, the smell of soil freshly turned, the sound of water running in the fields, the faces of those you hope to see again. Sleep does not come swiftly. Your body is to soar, your thoughts to restless. But gradually, breath by breath, you begin to drift. The cool air wraps around you. The fires glow a gentle anchor. The murmur of the wind becomes a lullaby, steady and low. And finally, exhaustion claims you, pulling you down into its depths. Your dreams, when they come, are scattered and fleeting. Fragments of memory, flashes of home, mingled with the shape of the wall, the face of the overseer, the rhythm of tamping earth. They blur together until you no longer know where memory ends and dream begins. Yet within it all, there is a strange softness, a distance from the harshness of waking life. Time slips away in this darkness. Hours pass unseen, marked only by the movement of the stars across the sky, the slow fading of the fire. The night is long, but not endless. Eventually, the faintest grey appears along the horizon, subtle at first, then growing stronger. The stars dim, retreating one by one. The camp stirs with the first signs of waking. Before you fully wake, you lie there for a few moments longer, caught between dream and day, breathing in the cool air of dawn. The weight of labor waits for you, the overseers, the baskets, the dust. But not yet. For this fragile sliver of time, you simply rest. And then, as the first bell clangs, sharp and unyielding, the day begins again. The clang of the bell breaks the fragile veil of sleep. Its iron tone cuts through the morning air, loud and merciless, vibrating in your bones. You stir reluctantly, the fog of dreams torn away before they can settle. The ground beneath you is cold and hard, pressing into your side where you lay curled. Your joints ache as you shift, every movement a reminder of yesterday's toil. Shoulders stiff, back knotted, hands raw from rope and stone. You blink slowly, adjusting to the faint grey of dawn. The sky is pale, neither dark nor light, a hazy in-between. The fires from last night are nothing but ashes now, faint smoke curling upward in thin, ghostly threads. Around you, men stir and groan, pushing themselves upright, each one carrying the same heavy weariness. The camp is alive with the sounds of reluctant waking, coughs rattling in dry throats, the shuffle of feet against packed earth. The low murmur of words have formed. You sit up slowly, wrapping your thin covering tighter around your shoulders for a moment against the chill. The air bites at your skin, sharp with mounting cold, though the promise of heat lies waiting in the hours ahead. You rub your hands together, feeling the roughness of your palms, the sting of small cuts that have yet to heal. Then, with a long exhale, you stand, your legs unsteady but obedient, as if they remember the rhythm even before your mind does. The overseers walk among the camp, rods tapping against the ground in steady rhythm. They call out commands, their voices sharp, their presence a constant weight pressing down. There is no room for slowness, no indulgence for rest. Work waits, and the wall grows only through the endless repetition of hands and backs like yours. You move toward the gathering point, where tools are kept, wooden poles, baskets woven from reeds, ropes stiff with dust, spades dulled from constant use. You pick up a basket, its handles worn smooth from countless fingers, the weave fraying but still strong enough to carry earth and stone. It feels heavier than it should, though you know it is only your body reminding you of its limits. Nearby, water is ladled from clay jars into shallow bowls. You crouch with the others, cupping the cool liquid into your hands. It splashes against your face, startling and bracing, chasing away the last threads of sleep. You drink what little you're given, The taste flat and faintly metallic, yet it eases the dryness in your throat. No one lingers long. The overseers are already shouting, driving the workers forward. You fall into step with the others. The line of bodies moving slowly toward the wall. The path is uneven, cut with ruts from countless feet. The dust clinging to your sandals, rising in faint clouds around your ankles. Ahead, the wall itself emerges, dark and imposing against the lightning sky. Its bulk grows more immense the closer you draw, stretching endlessly across the ridges. Its surface rough, where new layers are being pressed and smoothed. The morning is quieter than the day will be. Voices are low, tools clatter faintly, but the full force of labor has yet to begin. You notice the sound of the wind, carrying the scent of cold stone and dry earth, mingling with faint traces of smoke from the overseer's torches. Above, birds wheel against the pale sky, their cries sharp and distant, untethered to the world of men below. As you approach the worksite, the rhythm of the day begins again. Orders are barked, assignments given. Some are sent to haul stones, others to dig, others still to tamp the earth. You take your place among the haulers, basket at your side, waiting for the signal. When it comes, the familiar weight returns. The basket fills with earth and rock, heavier with each handful. You bend, lift, and rise, the strain pulling at your shoulders, your legs bracing against the load. The path to the wall is short but steep, every step demanding. Dust rises with each footfall, clinging to your skin, filling your nose and mouth until you can taste the grit. At the wall's base, the baskets are emptied, the contents poured into the growing structure. Others tamp the earth, their tools striking in steady rhythm, the sound echoing like drums against the mountainside. Then you turn back, basket light again, only to begin the cycle anew. Load, lift, carry, empty. Over and over, the pattern repeats, as if the body itself has become a machine, the mind secondary to the endless motion. As the sun rises higher, the camp brightens, shadows shrinking back. The air warms, though it is still bearable, the full heat of midday not yet pressing down. You glance occasionally at the sky, noting the slow shift of color from pale gray to soft blue. It is a strange comfort, this measure of time that belongs to no man, only to the heavens. Your thoughts drift as you work, slipping in and out of focus. Memories surface in fragments, the curve of a riverbank, the smell of wet soil after rain, the laughter of voices long unheard. They soften the edges of the present, though never enough to erase it. The overseer's shouts always break through, pulling you back to the weight in your hands, the ache in your back, the dust in your throat. Still, within the sameness of labor, small details emerge. The way a fellow worker steadies his load with a practiced motion, his body moving with surprising grace despite exhaustion. The way the wall itself changes, subtle but real, the line of stone and earth creeping higher, longer, each day's work added to the last. It grows before your eyes, proof of toil carved into the land, a monument to both endurance and suffering. By the time the sun has fully risen, the rhythm is absolute. Sweat beads on your skin, soaking into your tunic, the fabric clinging uncomfortably. Dust streaks your face, mixing with the salt of perspiration, leaving faint trails when you wipe it away. Your muscles protest, yet they obey, moving again and again with the same relentless pattern. The day has claimed you, as it always does, and you surrender to its pull. The wall looms above, a silent witness to every strain and breath. You do not know how many years it will take, or whether you will live to see its completion. For now, it is simply the shape before you, demanding your strength, your hours, your life. And so, As the morning unfolds, you carry another load, and then another, the rhythm unbroken, the cycle endless. The sun creeps upward, quiet but merciless. Its light sharpens the edges of the stones, turns the dust into a golden haze, and warms the earth until the air itself begins to shimmer. By now, the morning chill has long since faded, leaving behind a dry, searing heat that seeps into every movement. The sky above is a blank canvas of blue, unbroken by cloud, vast and endless, as though it stretches on forever. You can feel the shift most in your body. What had begun as stiffness has deepened into a grinding weariness. Your shoulders burn with every lift, your back strains with every bend, your knees tremble as they climb the incline to the wall. The basket, once merely heavy, has grown into something more than weight. It has become a constant, living pressure, pulling at your arms, dragging you downward. Each step raises a faint puff of dust that clings to your skin, coating your legs, your arms, your neck. It settles into your hair, into the seams of your clothes, into the cracks of your hands. The taste of it is everywhere, dry and bitter, scratching at your throat, no matter how often you swallow. When the wind stirs, it lifts the dust into the air, blinding, choking, and yet somehow familiar, a part of the world here as much as the stones themselves. Around you, the others labor in silence, broken only by the steady rhythm of work. The scrape of spades against the ground, the dull thud of tampers striking earth, the hollow sound of stone meeting stone. Occasionally, there is a cough, hoarse and dry. Occasionally, a muttered word, quickly lost to the air. But mostly, there is only the rhythm, the sound of bodies pressed to their limits, repeating the same motions again and again. The overseers move among you like shadows, their presence heavy even when they do not speak. Their eyes miss little, catching the slow hand, the faltering step, the pause that lingers too long. When they bark a command, it is sharp enough to cut through the haze of exhaustion. When they strike with their rods, the crack is louder than the wind, louder than the tools, a sound that leaves no room for rest. You bow your head, keep your body moving. Not too slow, not too fast, just enough, always enough to avoid notice. The rhythm is your protection, the unbroken cycle of motion, keeping you invisible within the mass of labor. Time stretches strangely in the heat. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel endless. There are no clocks, no clear measure beyond the sun's steady climb. You sense it by the way your shadow shortens, pulling close to your feet, by the way sweat beads along your brow, sliding down your temples, stinging your eyes, by the way your tunic clings damply to your skin, heavy with salt and dirt. Thirst gnaws at you, deep and insistent. The water you drank at dawn is long gone, and though there will be another ration later, for now there is nothing. You lick at your lips, cracked and dry, but it brings no relief. Every swallow feels thick, as though even your throat has grown heavy in the heat. Still, you keep moving, basket filled, basket lifted, basket carried. You walk the same path so many times that each stone, each rut, becomes familiar. You learn where to place your foot to avoid stumbling, where the ground dips, where it rises. The wall itself grows higher, though it is slow, almost imperceptible. A stone here, a layer of earth there, yet you notice. You see the line shift upward, the slope change slightly, proof of your effort pressed into the land. The heat makes the world blur. The edges of mountains ripple faintly in the distance, their outlines softened by haze. The air shimmers above the stones, as though the wall itself breathes with its own heat. When you lift your gaze, it is almost too bright, the light searing, forcing your eyes closed again. So mostly you keep your head lowered, watching the ground in front of you, the basket before you, the path you tread. Even within the grind, there are small moments that catch your senses. A fellow laborer hums under his breath, so faint you almost think you imagined it. Another lets out a sigh that seems to carry not just air but years of longing. For a brief moment, the sound of a bird cuts through the clatter, a high, clear call, free and distant, untouched by dust or stone. These details linger in your mind, tiny sparks within the haze of toil. Sometimes, as you pause to adjust your grip, your thoughts wander. You picture fields, open and green, far from the stone and dust. You imagine the sound of water, flowing and cool, splashing over rocks in a way the jars here never echo. You think of home, though the memory is vague now, softened at the edges, as though it too has been buried beneath layers of earth and time. The image fades quickly, pulled away by another order, another load to carry. The midday sun reaches its peak, shadows vanish, pressed directly beneath you, leaving no place to hide. The air is still, heavy, as if it too has grown tired of moving. Every breath feels thick, filled with heat and dust, dragging at your lungs. Your muscles tremble, but they do not stop. They cannot stop. Not while the wool waits, not while the overseers watch, and so the hours stretch on. The sound of labor never ceases, echoing against the stones, carried on the dry wind. The wall rises, foot by foot, the rhythm unbroken. You are a part of it now, your body moving as though bound to its growth, each step, each lift, each breath given to its making. The sun burns above, the earth burns below, and still you work. The hours stretch long beneath the midday sun, but at last, there comes a shift. The overseers raise their voices, sharp against the hum of labor, calling the order to pause. The tools clatter to the ground, baskets are set aside, and a silence spreads, not full, not pure, but heavy, filled with the sigh of men unburdening themselves of their loads. If only for a moment. You straighten slowly, your spine stiff and aching, your shoulders groaning from the weight of work. The relief is small, but real, as though a knot has loosened somewhere deep inside. Around you, the others slump against stones, or drop to the ground where they stand, limbs folding as if they might collapse completely if not given rest. The overseers move among you, carrying jars of water and bundles of food. The rations are meager, never enough to erase the gnaw of hunger or the dry ache of thirst, but in this place, they are treasures. The workers rise or crawl forward, hands outstretched, eyes fixed on the simple gifts of survival. When your turn comes, you take the small clay cup of water, the surface reflecting the brightness of the sun. You bring it to your lips with a kind of reverence, tilting it carefully, letting the liquid wash over your tongue. It is not cold, not fresh. It has sat in its jar since morning, warmed by the air, carrying with it a faint taste of clay and earth. Yet it is life, pure and undeniable. Each swallow eases the scratch in your throat, soothes the tightness in your chest. You drain it slowly, savoring every drop, even as the thirst within you begs to drink faster. When it is gone, you lick at the rim, reluctant to let even the smallest trace slip away. The food is simple, coarse bread made of millet and barley, dense and rough in your hand. Beside it, a handful of beans, or sometimes dried vegetables, occasionally salted strips of fish, if the overseers have been supplied well. Today it is bread and beans, filling but plain. You tear the bread with your teeth, chewing slowly, each mouthful dry and heavy, sticking to your tongue. You chase it with the beans, their texture soft but faintly bitter. It is not a feast. It does not satisfy the way your body longs to be satisfied. But it fills the emptiness enough to keep you standing, enough to return you to the work. And in this place, that is all food is meant to do. Around you, the laborers eat in silence, though here and there voices stir. A man mutters to the one beside him, too quietly to catch. Another laughs, though it is a sound more weary than joyful. Someone sings a fragment of a tune, rough and broken, but carrying for a moment above the still air. The overseers let it pass. Even they know that silence can weigh too heavy, that a small crack in the wall of fatigue is not a threat. You lean against a half-laid stone, feeling the warmth of the sun stored within it, pressing against your back. For a moment, you close your eyes. The light is still there, searing against your lids, but you let yourself sink into the sound around you, the crunch of bread, the murmur of voices, the faint stir of the wind. The smells of dust and sweat remain, but beneath them, faintly, the sharper note of baked grain, the earthy scent of beans, the wet tang of water jars. They mingle, familiar, almost comforting in their constancy. As you eat, your mind drifts. You think of meals before this life, of bowls filled more fully, of flavors richer and softer. You picture the steam rising from hot rice, the sweet burn of garlic, the taste of meat roasted and tender. The memory is hazy, uncertain, perhaps even imagined, but it lingers all the same. You swallow, and for a moment, the bread in your mouth feels lighter, the beans less bitter. Around you, others drift in their thoughts as well. Some sit with heads bowed, eyes closed, not eating so much as holding their food loosely, as if even the act of chewing is too heavy. Some speak of home, though the words are vague, carried on low tones, fragments of sentences meant as much for themselves as for anyone listening. One man turns a small carving in his hands, worn smooth from being touched again and again, a figure so simple, tell if it is meant to be human or animal. He stares at it as though it carries his whole life within its lines. The overseers keep watch, but they, too, are quieter now, their rods lowered, their commands fewer. Even they understand that men cannot work without pause, that stone cannot be raised without strength. They drink from the jars as well, their voices rough from shouting, their faces lined from the same sun that burns your own skin. For a brief moment, the gulf between worker and master narrows, not erased, but softened by the shared truth of thirst, of hunger, of heat. The pause lasts longer than you expect, stretching into what feels like eternity, though in truth, it is perhaps no more than the span of a quarter hour. Still, it is enough to draw a breath that is not tied to a lift. Enough to let your shoulders rest against the stone, to let your knees soften, to let your chest rise and fall in a rhythm untouched by labor. And then, as quickly as it came, it ends. The overseers clap their hands, raise their voices, call the order to rise. The food is gone, the water drained, the shadows unchanged beneath the noonday sun. Around you, men pull themselves upright, groaning softly, shoulders rounding forward as if to meet the weight before it comes. The rhythm begins again, baskets lifted, tools reclaimed, stones raised and set. You rise with them, your body heavy but steadied by the meal. The bread and beans sit in your stomach like stones, yet they give you strength. The water lingers on your lips, faint and fading, but enough to remind you of life. You lift your basket, place it against your shoulders, feel its weight return like an old companion. The wall waits, the sun burns, the cycle continues. And as you walk back to the path, the brief respite already fading into memory, you carry with you the smallest ember of strength, enough to keep your body moving, enough to keep the stones rising. The midday pause fades, dissolving as quickly as it came, leaving only the weight of work pressing back down on your shoulders. The sun has climbed higher, burning with a relentless persistence, its heat soaking into your skin and searing the sweat already slick across your back. Every movement feels heavier now, every stone denser, every breath tighter. You can taste the dust, fine and dry, clinging to the inside of your cheeks and the back of your throat, mixing with the faint salt of your sweat. The overseers resume their calls, short, clipped, echoing across the rising wall. Their voices carry authority and weariness alike, the same tones you have heard all morning, yet somehow sharper now against the afternoon's pressing stillness. You raise your basket again, shifting the weight against your shoulder, the strain settling deep into your bones. You take a step forward, then another, feeling the rhythm of labor embed itself into your body, as surely as the stones will embed into the wall itself. Around you, the other laborers move with the same slow, deliberate cadence. There is no hurry, only the steady, persistent push of hands against stone, of backs against wood, of muscles bending and straightening again and again. Occasionally, a stone slips from a weak grasp, clattering onto the path below with a sound that makes your stomach tighten. The overseer shouts sharply, and the man beside you mutters a curse under his breath, wiping the sweat from his brow with the back of a dust-stained hand. The sun is a constant companion now, and it marks the passing hours as surely as any bell or sundial. Its light is harsh and bright, reflecting off the pale surfaces of the stones, burning into your eyes, despite the narrow slit of your sleeve or the rough cloth tied over your head. You feel your skin tighten, a slow, crawling ache as the sun's intensity presses downward. Shadows shift minutely along the wall, but they offer little relief. You lean into a half-formed archway, feeling the rough stone against your palms, listening to the faint creak of scaffolding and the low hum of conversation, as sparse as it is. The midday food and water sustain you, but only partially. Hunger and thirst are not quiet companions. They nudge persistently at the edges of your awareness, reminding you that this labor consumes more than your body can replenish. Each step toward the next stone, each heave and lift, reminds you that survival here is not measured in comfort, but in the simple act of continuing to rise, to move, to endure. You glance around at your companions. Faces glisten with sweat, their features blurred in the heat haze, eyes narrowed against the glare. Some are young, barely grown, their limbs long and wiry, their hands trembling from exertion and sun. Others are older, faces carved deep with lines from the sun and labor alike, skin tough as leather, muscles knotted from years of the same unending rhythm. There is a kind of silent camaraderie among you, a thread woven through shared pain, shared fatigue, shared endurance. Words are few, there is no need. Each movement speaks volumes, each lift is testimony to resilience. The wind, when it comes, is gentle but rare, a fleeting brush against the sweat-slick skin of your face, carrying with it the smell of earth and stone, faintly mixed with the distant river below. It offers a momentary relief, a whisper of coolness in the unrelenting heat. You close your eyes briefly as it passes, savoring the sensation of air against your cheeks, the soft rustle of cloth and leather, the faint murmur of conversation, so low it is almost inaudible above the cadence of work. Your hands are raw now, edges of palms chafed and red, fingers stiff from gripping the stone, knuckles scraped against rough surfaces. You flex them slowly, relishing the slight relief, the subtle release of tension. You have learned to move carefully, to adjust your grip, to lift in ways that protect what strength remains. Every stone is heavy, but the technique is learned through repetition, through careful observation of those who have labored before you. There is a rhythm to the work, almost musical if you listen closely. The scrape of chisel against rock, the thunk of stone landing into place, the quiet grunt of effort. Each sound punctuates the long, steady beat of the sun-drenched afternoon. You find yourself settling into it, almost hypnotized, muscles moving almost automatically, thoughts drifting as your body continues its task. Occasionally, your mind wanders to simpler things, a memory of rice boiled in a smoky pot, the taste of tea carried along a dusty path, a song half remembered from childhood. These thoughts do not distract, they sustain. They remind you that beyond the wall, beyond the labor, life exists, even if distant, even if faint. Time stretches oddly here. Hours blend together, measured less by the sun's movement than by the rise and fall of exertion. You lift, set, adjust, lift again. A stone is heavy, awkward, and unwieldy, yet when it finally finds its place, there is a satisfaction that is quiet but deep. The wall grows, and so too does a small, stubborn sense of accomplishment, fleeting but enough to spur you forward. The overseers patrol along the ridge, their eyes sharp and unyielding. Occasionally, they intervene, correcting posture, scolding a misaligned stone, reminding you that the work is not just your own. It belongs to the empire, to the generations that will follow. You nod without speaking, acknowledging the truth of it. The Great Wall is larger than any one man, larger than the sum of all laborers here. And yet, in this moment, in this sun-baked stretch of stone and dust, your hands are part of that grandness. The afternoon drags onward. The sun's heat does not diminish. Shadows shrink and stretch, if mocking the passage of hours. Sweat drips into your eyes, and you wipe it away with the edge of your sleeve, tasting its saltiness, feeling the grit of dust beneath your fingers. The stones you carry scrape against your skin, leaving tiny abrasions that sting sharply when you brush against them. Yet you keep moving, keep lifting, keep stacking. The rhythm is almost meditative, a slow, deliberate movement that demands focus and rewards persistence. When the sun finally begins its descent, a slight shift in light softening the harsh edges of the day, you feel the subtle release of tension in your shoulders. The shadows lengthen along the path, and the wall takes on a warmer hue. The day is not over, but there is a sense of nearing completion, a small, internal sigh that carries you toward the next pause. As you set down the final stones of this stretch, you take a moment to glance over the wall. From this height, the land unfolds in a patchwork of fields, rivers, and distant hills. The air carries the faint scent of grass and soil from the valley below, a reminder of life beyond labor. You breathe deeply, letting the scent fill your lungs, momentarily overpowering the dust and sweat. And it reminds you why this work, arduous as it is, must continue. Evening approaches slowly, the sun dips lower, casting long shadows, painting the wall in amber and gold. Your muscles ache, your hands are raw, your body heavy with fatigue. But there is a strange beauty in the moment, a quiet awe at the enormity of what you are building, at the stubborn persistence of men like yourself. You feel a subtle pride, mingled with exhaustion, a testament to endurance, to human tenacity. The overseers call the end of the day soon after, their voices carrying down the wall, sharp and commanding. Tools are dropped, baskets laid aside, bodies collapsing onto the stone and earth wherever they stand. The labor is complete for now, and the brief respite of night approaches, bringing with it cool air, softer light, and the promise of rest, however fleeting. You sit for a long moment, feeling the wall beneath you, feeling your heart beat in rhythm with your muscles, feeling the sun retreat and the temperature ease slightly. Around you, others settle as well, sharing quiet words, small gestures, or nothing at all. The day's labor lingers in every movement, every groan, every shifting of weight, and yet the shared effort, the relentless pursuit of completion, ties you together, a network of sweat, stone, and persistent stretching across the horizon. Finally, you rise slowly, staggering slightly, muscles complaining at the renewed movement. You carry water back to a resting point, sip carefully, savoring the cool liquid as it trickles down your throat. Night will come soon. Food will come if it can be gathered and cooked before darkness falls. And in the dimming light, you sense that tomorrow will demand the same relentless rhythm, the same unwavering effort. The great wall continues to rise beneath your hands. The sun sets, casting long shadows, cooling the heated stones, bathing the laborers in a softer, gentler glow. And as night gathers, you feel a deep, almost serene exhaustion, a quiet knowledge that you have done your part, that your hands have shaped something lasting, even if unseen by those beyond this stretch of stone and earth. As the sun continues its slow descent, the air begins to cool ever so slightly, and the harsh glare of midday softens into the gentler, golden hues of late afternoon. The stones you have spent hours lifting now seem less intimidating in the fading light, yet their weight remains, pressing insistently against your shoulders and forearms. The wall stretches before you, a ribbon of effort carved across hills and valleys, and each step you take along its ridge reminds you of the scale of what is being built and the persistence required to shape it. The soundscape changes subtly with the declining sun. The overseer's calls are fewer now, their sharp voices softened by distance and fatigue. The murmurs of other laborers mix with the distant cry of birds returning to roost, creating a muted symphony that threads through the labor-worn silence. Your own breathing is loud to you, steady and rhythmic, punctuated by the occasional grunt or the scrape of stone against stone. There is a strange serenity in this sound, almost meditative, as your mind settles into the familiar cadence of work. Even in this waning light, the heat lingers. The stones you carry are still warm from the day's sun, radiating a gentle but persistent heat that seeps into your palms. Your back aches, a dull throb running along your spine, a reminder that the day's labor is far from gentle. Yet there is also a growing sense of accomplishment, subtle and quiet, that accompanies each stone laid in careful alignment. You glance along the wall, watching your companions as they move with practiced precision, and there is a shared recognition in their eyes. Exhaustion, yes, but also the muted pride of contribution to something larger than oneself. The wind has picked up slightly, brushing coolly against your sun-worn skin. It carries with it the faint scent of distant rivers, mingled with the earthy aroma of the hillside beneath your feet. You breathe deeply, letting the air fill your lungs, savoring the fleeting relief it provides. This gentle breeze seems to breathe life back into your weary muscles, offering a temporary reprieve from the relentless pull of labor. You adjust your grip on the stone you are carrying, appreciating the simple pleasure of a momentary comfort, however small. Shadows stretch long and thin across the wall, marking the passage of time with their quiet, patient presence. You can feel the day slipping away, the sun lowering behind distant peaks, casting the landscape into a warm, diffused glow. The valley below transforms under the changing light, rivers glinting like threads of silver, fields soften to muted shades of green and brown, and clusters of dwellings blending into the terrain. From this height, the world seems both vast and intimate, a reminder that your toil, though small in isolation, is part of a larger pattern, a structure that will endure beyond your lifetime. Your hands, raw and calloused from hours of lifting and setting stone, ache insistently. Fingers stiff, knuckles scraped, palms rubbed red from the coarse surfaces. They are a testament to the labor and the skill required to survive here. Every motion is deliberate. Every lift is calculated to preserve what strength remains. You have learned to balance fatigue with precision, endurance with caution, understanding that one misstep could undo hours of careful work or, worse, cause injury that might remove you from the labor entirely. Food and water, the sustenance that has carried you this far, begin to feel less immediate now. Hunger gnaws quietly at the edges of your awareness, a persistent reminder that the day is not yet over. You take small sips from your water flask, letting the liquid trickle down slowly, savoring each taste as it provides a measure of life to fuel the final hours. The bread you carry, dense and coarse, is chewed deliberately, pieces softened by saliva before being swallowed, each bite a tiny ritual of survival. Conversations are sparse, words weighed carefully against the effort of speaking. Occasionally, someone murmurs a comment, a brief observation about a stone, a whispered complaint about aching joints, or a fleeting remark about the distant village below. Laughter is rare, but when it comes, it is brief and bright, cutting through the monotony like a sudden gust of wind. There is comfort in this small human connection, a reminder that despite the relentless labor and harsh conditions, you are not alone. As the sun dips further, you feel the first hints of fatigue settling deep into your muscles, an almost imperceptible heaviness that spreads slowly through your limbs. You pause briefly, leaning against a section of the wall, feeling the rough stone beneath your hands and the solid weight of it against your body. The coolness of the evening begins to seep in, easing the tension of the day just slightly. You close your eyes for a moment, listening to the subtle sounds around you, the distant calls of laborers, the faint rustle of wind in the grasses below, the rhythmic thud of stone against stone as your companions continue their work. Evening brings with it a shifting palette of colors, deep oranges and soft purples blending across the sky, reflecting on the stones of the wall in warm, fleeting glimmers. The landscape is transformed by this light, revealing textures and shapes previously hidden in the brightness of midday. You take a slow, deliberate breath, letting the beauty of this transient moment settle into your awareness, providing a brief respite from the physical demands that have dominated the day. The overseers begin signaling the nearing end of the day. Their calls are less frequent, more deliberate, guiding the laborers toward the final tasks before rest. Stones are carefully set in place, tools are gathered, and the scattered baskets and materials are arranged for the evening pause. There is a sense of completion in these small, deliberate actions, a quiet acknowledgement that the day's labor, while far from finished in the grand scale of the wall, has reached a temporary stopping point. You take a moment to scan the wall from this vantage point. The work accomplished during the day stretches before and behind you, a ribbon of human effort cutting across the rugged landscape. The enormity of the task is humbling, yet the visible progress instills a subtle sense of pride. Each stone laid, each segment completed, is a testament to persistence, endurance, and the quiet strength of those who labor here. You feel your own contribution in your muscles, your hands, your sweat-streaked face, and it is a small but tangible affirmation of purpose. Night approaches gradually, the sun slipping behind the horizon and leaving a deep, velvety blue in its wake. Stars begin to emerge, delicate points of light scattered across the sky, offering a quiet contrast to the harshness of the day. The temperature cools further, drawing a faint mist from the valley below, carrying the scent of earth, water, and distant vegetation. You feel the first subtle relief from heat pressing against your skin, a gentle invitation to rest and recuperate before the inevitable return to labor. As the laborers begin to gather their belongings and descend from the ridge, the wall becomes quieter. Footsteps echo softly, the sound of worn leather boots on rough stone blending with the occasional whisper of wind. You follow slowly, muscles stiff but willing, your body adjusting to the slower pace of movement. Each step carries the lingering memory of the day's exertion, a mixture of ache and accomplishment that settles into your awareness as a persistent companion. The camp below the wall is a scene of muted activity. Fires burn low, casting flickering light over gathered groups of laborers. Some sit quietly, sharing food, water, and the occasional word, while others tend to minor injuries, rubbing sore muscles or bandaging raw hands. The smell of smoke mixes with the earthy aroma of stone and soil, creating a layered, sensory landscape that speaks of toil, sustenance, and endurance. You join the flow of movement, collecting your provisions and finding a spot to rest. Water is taken in small, deliberate sips, bread chewed slowly, as the ritual of nourishment unfolds. You feel the warmth of fire against your skin, the faint glow of flames reflecting in tired eyes. Around you, conversation is minimal, murmured, almost reverent in its quietness. The day has taken much, but in these simple acts of replenishment and care, life asserts itself, small but undeniable, in the body and spirit alike. As darkness deepens, your gaze drifts upward to the vast sky. Stars shimmer above, distant yet brilliant, a reminder of permanence and constancy beyond the fleeting demands of labor. There is a subtle, almost meditative calm in this view, a sense that despite the hardship, the effort has meaning, if not always immediate reward. You let your thoughts wander slowly, tracing the constellations, recalling memories of home, or imagining the path of the sun rising over the wall tomorrow. Night deepens further, and laborers begin to settle, stretching on mats or crude bedding, finding whatever comfort they can in the temporary reprieve. Bodies ache, hands throb, and fatigue presses down like a heavy, familiar weight. Yet in this shared exhaustion, there is solace. Each person here carries the same burden, endures the same relentless effort, and will rise again to continue. There is community in this shared struggle, quiet but profound, a reminder that human endeavor persists even in the harshest conditions. You settle at last, letting your body rest against a segment of stone, breathing deeply, feeling the slow release of tension as muscles relax. The wall looms large in the moonlight, a silent witness to the labor of countless hands, a monument to endurance, resilience, and the unyielding drive to build, protect, and endure. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the night enfold you, carrying with it the promise of rest and the certainty of a new day. Just beyond the horizon, the cool night air brushes your skin, carrying the faint scent of distant rivers, soil, and the lingering warmth of stone. Your mind drifts into quiet reflection, memories and images mingling with the rhythm of your heartbeat. Sleep will come, and when it does, it will carry the exhaustion of the day into dreams, offering a brief escape from the demands of labor, while the wall itself waits, silently steadfast, ready for the sunrise that will summon its builders once more. Night deepens over the rugged landscape, and the cool air begins to settle into the valleys below. You lie on the ground, the rough stone pressing through the thin mat beneath you, and your muscles hum with the lingering ache of the day's labor. Sleep tugs at the edges of consciousness, gentle but persistent, while the distant hum of the camp's activity drifts upward. Low murmurs, the crackle of dying fires, and the occasional scrape of a tool being prepared for the morning. Even in rest, the wall feels alive, The stone beneath your hands seems to pulse with the memory of each placement, each careful adjustment. You can almost sense the effort of countless others before you, the labor woven into the very fabric of the structure. It is humbling and grounding, a reminder of the enduring nature of human effort and the quiet dignity of work carried out not for immediate reward, but for necessity and survival. The stars overhead are sharp, clear points of light against the velvet sky. Their distant brilliance provides a strange comfort, a sense of permanence beyond the transient struggles of your day. You allow your thoughts to drift slowly across the vastness of the heavens, tracing constellations and recalling stories you've heard from elders, tales passed down through generations about gods, ancestors, and the rhythms of life itself. These stories mingle with your own reflections, offering both distraction and solace as your body slowly begins to surrender to the pull of sleep. Occasionally, a distant voice rises above the quiet, a lone laborer speaking to another or calling across the camp. The sound carries softly, its clarity sharpened by the cool night air, yet it remains gentle, almost a lullaby against the backdrop of the sleeping world. There is a rhythm to these sounds, the ebb and flow of human presence against the vast stillness that settles deep within your chest, syncing with the quiet pulse of your own heartbeat. The scent of the night is different from the day. The warmth of the stones has faded, leaving behind the faint earthy aroma of the mountainside and the mingling fragrance of distant forests and riverbeds. Each inhalation brings with it a subtle relief, a cooling balm to the muscles still steeped in fatigue. The air is dry, but carries the promise of the river below, a reminder that life continues, flowing quietly even in the absence of sunlight. In the shadows near the fires, figures move slowly, tending to the remnants of the day. Food is reheated, tools cleaned, and minor injuries attended to. A scraped hand is washed in the chill river water, a bandage tied carefully with frayed cloth, and the tired back is massaged with a few practiced movements. You observe these gestures quietly, feeling a sense of shared experience, of collective endurance that binds each laborer together in ways words cannot fully express. Sleep comes in slow, fragmented waves, interrupted by the faint sounds of movement or the sudden call of a night bird. Your mind drifts between waking and dreaming, weaving images of the wall, the hills, the distant villages, and the faces of those you work alongside. Each dream carries a fragment of the day, the weight of stone, the sting of the sun, the rhythm of tools striking against each other. These images are softened, muted by the mind's natural inclination to transform fatigue into rest, but they remain tethered to reality, reminders that the labor is never far from consciousness. Through these moments of half-sleep, you sense the passage of time in subtle ways. The moon climbs higher, casting its pale glow across the stone, and the shadows shift, revealing contours of the wall and the landscape that were hidden in darkness. The temperature shifts, cooler now, and you pull your worn blanket tighter, appreciating the meager comfort it provides. Every breath seems to carry the night itself, a slow inhalation of stillness and a gentle exhalation of fatigue. Morning begins its quiet approach long before the first light touches the peaks. There is a subtle shift in the air, a change in temperature and pressure, a gentle stirring that nudges the camp from sleep toward readiness. The first faint hints of light brush the eastern horizon, illuminating distant peaks in shades of pale pink and soft gold. You awaken slowly, muscles stiff but gradually loosening, the familiar ache now tempered by the mind's awakening. The camp stirs with deliberate slowness. Low murmurs of greeting ripple through the laborers, blankets are shaken free, and worn tools are gathered in preparation for the day ahead. Fires are coaxed back to life, embers coaxed into warmth, and light with patient breaths and careful movements. Breakfast, meager but essential, is prepared. Dense bread, dried fruit, and water, consumed with attention to each bite and sip. The ritual of nourishment grounding the body and mind for the labor to come. You move with the rhythm of the camp, stretching slowly, feeling each muscle awaken to the new day. Fingers are rubbed and inspected, palms flexed, shoulders rotated carefully to avoid strain. The landscape is bathed in soft morning light, revealing textures and contours previously hidden in the night. The rough edges of stone, the gentle slope of hills, the winding paths of laborers moving between tasks. Each detail is noted, consciously or not, as the mind prepares itself for the continuation of work along the immense wall. The overseers begin their rounds, their voices cutting through the morning air with practiced authority. Instructions are given, tools distributed, and tasks assigned with efficiency honed over years. You respond with practiced obedience, carrying the weight of responsibility and necessity in your movements, each action deliberate, each step measured. There is no time for hesitation. Survival and the completion of the wall demand precision, endurance, and resilience. Carrying stones once again, the weight pressing against your shoulders. You move along the ridge, each step grounded and intentional. The rhythm of labor returns, familiar and exacting, each motion a combination of muscle memory, strength, and attention to detail. You listen to the sounds around you, the scrape of stone, the occasional thud of placement, the muted chatter of companions. The day has begun anew, and with it comes both the challenge and the meditative cadence of the work that defines your existence here. Sunlight strengthens gradually, warming your skin and casting long shadows across the wall. Sweat begins to bead on your forehead, tracing delicate lines down your face and neck. The sun illuminates the textures of stone and soil, revealing every ridge, crack, and grain, reminding you of the precision required to maintain alignment and stability. Your focus narrows, each stone a puzzle piece in the larger construction, a tangible contribution to a monumental task. Occasionally, your gaze drifts to the surrounding landscape, the rolling hills, distant forests, and the winding river that gleams faintly in the morning light. There is a quiet majesty in the scene, a reminder that human labor is both small and vast in context. The wall stretches far beyond what the eye can follow, a testament to endurance, persistence, and the shared effort of countless hands. You feel both dwarfed and empowered by the scale, a participant in something that will outlast individual lives. Throughout the morning, the physical toll of labor is constant. Muscles strain, joints ache, and hands, raw from repeated contact with rough surfaces, are reminders of the body's limits and capacities. Each motion is deliberate, calculated to preserve strength while accomplishing the necessary tasks. There is little room for error. One misplaced stone could require hours of correction, yet each successful placement brings a subtle sense of satisfaction, a quiet acknowledgement of skill and perseverance. By mid-morning, the camp has settled into a rhythm, the repetition of labor creating a kind of meditative pattern. There is a flow to the day, punctuated by the rising and setting of the sun, the distribution of supplies, and the occasional oversight or instruction from those in authority. The wall itself becomes both companion and challenge, a constant presence that demands attention, endurance, and respect. Your awareness is heightened, every sound, movement, and sensation sharpened by necessity. Yet there is a quiet beauty in this focused engagement with the world. As the morning progresses, the physical exertion continues relentlessly, Yet there are small moments of reprieve. A brief pause to drink water, the slight shade of a rock overhang, or the fleeting laughter of a companion creates tiny bursts of relief. These moments, though fleeting, provide sustenance beyond food or water, nurturing the mind and spirit in subtle, vital ways. They remind you that even within the rigor of labor, there are fragments of life, small pockets of humanity that persist against fatigue and hardship. The sun rises higher, spilling light across the ridge and illuminating every contour of the wall and surrounding landscape. The heat gradually intensifies, settling onto your shoulders and across your back, drawing beads of sweat that trace slow paths down your skin. Each breath you take carries a faint taste of dust, stone, and the faint, lingering aroma of the morning fires. The coolness of night has given way to the stark reality of labor in the sun, and your body responds with the familiar ache that is both exhausting and oddly grounding. Every movement feels deliberate, measured, a combination of muscle memory and conscious effort. Stones are lifted and positioned with care, the rough surfaces chafing your palms, despite the protective layers of cloth you've wrapped around them. The rhythm of placement is steady, repetitive, almost hypnotic. There is a strange meditative quality to the work, the way your muscles move in sequence, the way your senses attune to every small variation in weight, texture, and balance. Each stone is a puzzle piece in a grand design, a contribution to a structure that stretches farther than the eye can follow. Around you, fellow laborers move in similar cadence, some silent, some exchanging quiet murmurs or instructions. Their faces glisten with sweat, their bodies bent or kneeling, yet there is a quiet dignity in each gesture. You observe the interplay of their movements, the subtle ways in which they adjust posture, redistribute weight, or assist a companion. There is a sense of shared endurance, an unspoken agreement that each person's effort contributes not just to the wall, but to the collective survival of all who labor along it. The midday sun casts sharp shadows, emphasizing the rough textures of stone and earth. Dust rises in small clouds with each movement, drifting lazily before settling again, coating hands, faces, and clothing. Breathing carries the fine grit into your lungs, and you pause occasionally to cough softly, eyes watering but mind focused. The wall is unyielding in its demands, and you have learned to adjust, to compensate, to endure, letting each sensation become part of the rhythm rather than a distraction. Food and water are precious commodities, and the brief pauses for nourishment are observed with ritualistic care. The bread is dense, dry, yet sustaining. The small pieces of dried fruit provide faint sweetness, a fleeting reprieve from monotony. Water, drawn from nearby streams or shared from communal barrels, is sipped slowly, each swallow savored for its cooling effect and life-sustaining properties. Even in these short moments, there is attention to detail, checking that hands are cleaned as best possible, ensuring clothing is adjusted, scanning the wall for any misaligned stones or potential hazards. Your gaze occasionally drifts beyond the immediate work. The landscape stretches endlessly, mountains and valleys unfolding in muted tones, rivers glinting faintly like threads of silver. You notice the patterns of the wind across the ridges, the way the sunlight shifts over time, and the subtle changes in the terrain that will influence the placement of stones and the flow of labor. These observations, though brief, provide a sense of orientation and connection, grounding your effort in the broader context of the environment. The overseers move among the laborers, their steps purposeful and eyes alert. Instructions are given with a quiet authority, subtle corrections offered with care, and encouragement delivered in tones that convey both expectation and understanding. Their presence is constant, but not oppressive, a reminder that discipline and guidance are essential for progress, yet that survival and success rely on individual skill and endurance as well. You watch and learn from their movements, internalizing patterns that will serve both today and in days to come. The physical demands continue relentlessly. Shoulders ache, backs tighten, legs tremble with exertion, and hands sting from repeated contact with rough stone. Yet, there is a rhythm to pain, a pattern that allows you to predict its peaks and valleys, to manage it, and to persist. Each placement of stone becomes a statement of resilience, a testament to the human capacity to adapt and endure. You remind yourself that the labor is not solely about survival, it is about building something that will endure, that will witness generations long after your own time has passed. Around midday, the heat reaches its peak. You notice how the air shimmers above the stone, distorting the distant mountains, and how the sunlight glints sharply off metal tools and the occasional glimmer of river below. Sweat soaks your clothing, clinging to skin and cooling slightly as it evaporates, leaving behind a faint saltiness. Despite the intensity, there is a subtle beauty in these moments, the interplay of light, shadow, and human effort, the quiet determination that marks each laborer's work. Conversations are sparse, reserved for essential instructions or brief acknowledgements of effort. Occasionally, a soft laugh or shared word slips through the labor, a momentary relief from the monotony. These small interactions carry more weight than they might seem to, reinforcing bonds and offering comfort in the midst of physical challenge. Even in silence, there is a sense of camaraderie, a shared understanding that each person's endurance contributes to the collective endeavor. As the sun continues its arc, fatigue becomes more pronounced. You learn to pace yourself, to distribute effort strategically, to alternate muscles and postures to prevent exhaustion. The wall itself dictates movement. Some stones demand precise handling, others allow for larger, more forceful placement. Observing these nuances, adjusting to them, and maintaining focus is a delicate balance, one that requires both attention and intuition. Despite exhaustion, there is room for reflection. Your thoughts wander to the families and villages left behind, the routines paused in order to contribute to this massive construction. You imagine their lives, their own struggles, and the small joys that persist amid difficulty. There is a grounding effect in this reflection, a reminder that labor is intertwined with the broader fabric of human experience, that effort and endurance are not isolated, but part of a larger story. Midday also brings moments of tension. Stones occasionally shift unexpectedly, tools falter in placement, and the uneven terrain presents hazards. Each situation requires immediate assessment and action, a blend of experience, instinct, and careful judgment. Mistakes are costly, not only in physical effort, but also in time and energy, and the weight of responsibility presses gently, but insistently on every decision. You respond with focused attention, aware of both the risks and the necessity of precision. The environment itself is a teacher, wind patterns, soil consistency, and the natural gradient of the ridge influence every movement. You learn to anticipate these subtle factors, to adjust technique and positioning, and to respect the power of the landscape, even as you assert human skill upon it. Each day offers lessons, some immediate and others absorbed gradually, that shape both technique and understanding. Small breaks provide fleeting relief. A sip of water, a handful of dried fruit, a moment to rest muscles and catch breath, all are observed with gratitude. In these moments, You notice the texture of the stone, the coolness of shaded surfaces, and the faint fragrance of earth warmed by the sun. The senses are heightened, attuned to subtle cues that aid survival and efficiency, yet also provide a quiet form of comfort amid labor. By late afternoon, the sun begins its slow descent, softening the harsh light and casting long shadows that stretch across the wall. The temperature eases slightly, muscles loosen with extended movement, and the rhythm of labor continues in a steadier, almost reflective pace. Observing the work from this perspective, you sense both accomplishment and ongoing challenge, a duality that defines life along the wall. The shared experience of labor becomes more apparent as the day progresses. Minor injuries are tended to with care, tools are passed to companions, and small adjustments in technique are communicated through subtle gestures. There is an unspoken acknowledgement of mutual reliance, a recognition that survival and success are contingent on cooperation, attentiveness, and shared endurance. You feel the weight of this connection, the invisible threads that link each laborer to the wall and to one another. Even as fatigue deepens, the mind retains a degree of clarity, absorbing the nuances of the environment, noting patterns in technique, and cataloging observations for future use. Every movement, every placement of stone becomes an exercise in balance between effort and rest, caution and speed, precision and endurance. These patterns, internalized over time, create a sense of rhythm and flow that sustains the body through relentless demands. As afternoon wanes, the first hints of evening begin to appear. The sun casts warm, amber hues across the wall, highlighting the textures and forms that define each segment. Shadows lengthen, moving slowly over the stones and ridges, and the temperature begins to moderate, offering a gentle reprieve from the heat. You pause briefly to observe the interplay of light and shadow, a quiet moment of reflection before the final hours of labor. The day's work is drawing toward a close, yet each remaining task demands attention. Stones are positioned with meticulous care, tools are cleaned and readied for the next day, and minor repairs are attended to with deliberate precision. The wall, both demanding and forgiving, reflects the labor of the entire day, a tangible record of human effort etched into the mountainside. As the afternoon fades, your body hums with the satisfaction of completed effort and the relief of approaching rest. The landscape, bathed in the golden glow of late day, offers a fleeting sense of serenity. The distant peaks, rivers, and valleys stretch endlessly, reminders of the scale and significance of the task you inhabit. Each stone laid is both a testament to endurance and a contribution to a legacy that will outlast the individual, binding present effort to the continuum of history. The afternoon wanes, and the sun dips lower toward the western horizon. The harsh brightness of midday softens into warm amber tones, spilling across the ridges and giving the stones of the wall a golden glow. Shadows lengthen, stretching into long lines that mimic the contours of the land, and the air begins to cool, carrying with it a subtle shift in mood. Though the work continues, there is a faint easing in the bodies around you, a shared recognition that the day's hardest exertions are nearly behind. The pace slows, not out of laziness, but necessity. After hours of strain beneath the relentless sun, muscles move more carefully, measured to prevent injury. Each stone lifted, each tool wielded, is handled with deliberate care, as though fatigue has deepened the laborer's awareness of every movement. Even the overseers, though still watchful, allow this slower rhythm to unfold. Their words are fewer, their instructions quieter, softened by the coming dusk. You continue to place stones, feeling their weight press into your body with each effort. The coarseness scrapes your palms even through the cloth wrappings, leaving the skin tender. Yet you also feel the coolness of the stone as the sun's warmth fades, a relief against heated skin. Dust still rises with every shift of earth, but it mingles now with the faint scent of cooling soil, the dry grasses nearby, and the subtle fragrance of smoke from the first cooking fires lit back at camp. The changing light transforms the wall itself. No longer a harsh, unyielding line of stone, it becomes almost gentle in appearance, its edges softened by shadow and golden light. You pause occasionally, letting your gaze wander along its length as it stretches across ridge after ridge, vanishing into the distance. There is something humbling about this sight, the enormity of what has already been built, the knowledge that countless hands before yours have shaped these stones, and that countless more will follow. It is a reminder that your labor, though small in scale, belongs to something vast. Around you, fellow laborers share quiet words as the day winds down. Voices are low, tired, yet tinged with a hint of relief. A few exchange brief stories, fragments of lives from distant villages, carried here and shared like offerings to ease the weight of fatigue. Others remain silent, conserving what little strength remains. Yet even in silence, there is connection, the sound of footsteps, the scrape of stone, the rustle of cloth, all weaving together into a rhythm that binds the workers in quiet unity. The overseers signal the end of the day's work with a sharp call. The tools are set aside, carefully placed for tomorrow's use, their metal edges dulled slightly from the day's wear. Stones yet to be moved are left in neat piles, waiting patiently for another dawn. As you step back from the wall, your body protests with an ache that runs deep into your bones. Your shoulders sag, legs tremble slightly, and your back tightens with strain. Yet beneath the discomfort lies a muted pride. The day's effort has left its mark upon the wall, a visible measure of your endurance. The walk back to camp is slow, the pace dictated by fatigue. The path winds down from the ridge, stones crunching softly beneath worn sandals. The air cools further as shadows deepen, carrying with it the faint rustle of grasses stirred by evening wind. A quiet murmur of voices rises among the workers, punctuated now and then by the sound of laughter or a half-sung tune, thin and wavering yet heartfelt. Despite exhaustion, there is comfort in this collective return, a movement together toward rest and nourishment. As camp comes into view, the sight is strangely welcoming. The low lines of mud brick shelters and tents are softened by the warm glow of fires flickering to life. Smoke curls gently into the sky, carrying with it the scent of grain cooking, a promise of sustenance after a long day. The camp is alive with quiet activity, small groups tending fires, others fetching water, some simply sitting with heads bowed, letting weariness wash over them. The sounds are gentle, muted, like the earth itself is exhaling after holding its breath all day. You find your place among the others, lowering yourself onto the packed ground near a fire. The warmth seeps into tired muscles, contrasting with the cool evening air. A simple bowl of food is passed, grain thickened with herbs, perhaps a few pieces of dried vegetable or fish, if fortune has favored the cooks today. The flavor is plain, yet it fills the hollow ache of hunger. Each mouthful is savored not for its taste, but for its sustenance, the way it replenishes the energy drained by hours of labor. Water is shared as well, each sip easing the dryness in your throat and washing away the faint grit of dust. Some laborers close their eyes as they drink, as though the act itself is sacred, a ritual of survival. The bowls and cups are passed carefully, with gratitude expressed in nods and quiet words. Even in the sparseness of the meal, there is community, a shared acknowledgement that no one survives this place alone. The conversations around the fire grow a little fuller as food and warmth take hold. Voices recount fragments of the day, moments of difficulty, small triumphs, or shared burdens. Stories of home surface, villages far away described with affection and longing. One man recalls the fields he once tended. Another speaks softly of children waiting in a distant valley. These stories weave through the smoke-filled air like threads of memory, binding each person not only to the wall, but to the lives left behind. The overseers, too, find their places at fires, though slightly apart. Their presence is quieter now, less authoritative, as though the weight of command rests lightly in the hours after labor. Even they share simple meals, their voices low, their laughter occasional. In the dim light, the boundaries between roles blur slightly, and everyone present seems united in the shared truth of exhaustion and survival. The sounds of the camp settle gradually as night deepens. The crackle of fires becomes the dominant rhythm, punctuated by the occasional murmur of conversation or the rustle of cloth as someone shifts for comfort. The sky overhead turns indigo, stars piercing through with startling clarity. You tilt your head back, gazing at the constellations that scatter across the heavens. They shine brilliantly in the unpolluted sky, ancient patterns that have watched over countless generations. Their light is distant yet steady, offering a sense of perspective that stretches far beyond the wall. The cool night air sharpens, carrying a faint chill that seeps through worn clothing. Laborers pull their cloaks tighter, some drawing closer to the fires, others retreating into shelters. You feel the day's exhaustion pulling at you, heavy and insistent. The warmth of the fire, the steady murmur of voices, and the lull of distant insect song weave together into a tapestry of restfulness. Before sleep, you take a moment to care for your body. Hands are rinsed in water, grit rubbed gently away, cloth wrappings adjusted for comfort. Small injuries are tended with herbs or simple bandages, murmured advice exchanged between companions. These small acts of care carry significance. They remind each person that endurance is not merely about strength, but also about attention, patience, and resilience. As you lie down, the earth beneath you feels firm yet oddly comforting, its coolness grounding your tired body. The flicker of firelight dances across the inside of your shelter, shadows swaying gently in rhythm with the flames. Beyond the shelter, the low hum of camp life gradually fades as voices quiet, fires burn lower, and the first breaths of sleep spread through the workers. Your eyes grow heavy, yet your mind drifts one final time to the wall. You imagine the stones you placed today, stacked in alignment with countless others, stretching into the distance. Though your body is weary, there is comfort in the knowledge that your labor has shaped something enduring. The wall rises not only from stone and earth but from human will, from the collective strength of countless hands. The stars gleam brighter as sleep overtakes you, their cold light spilling gently across the land, across the ridges, and across the wall itself. In their presence, your body surrenders to rest, lulled by the quiet symphony of fire, wind, and the steady rhythm of breathing around you. Tomorrow will bring labor anew, but for now, the night is your school, quiet and boundless. The fires burn low, their bright orange glow dimming into beds of coals that pulse softly in the dark. The air has grown colder now, a sharpness settling into the valley that seeps through the seams of cloth and the cracks of mud brick shelters. Each breath you take is cool, almost biting, but it also carries with it a crisp clarity, the kind of freshness that only the night can bring. The murmur of voices that once drifted around the camp has nearly vanished, replaced by the gentler sounds of people surrendering to sleep. A cough here, a faint shifting of cloth there, the occasional whisper carried from one exhausted body to another. These are the last echoes of the day. You lie still on the packed earth, wrapped in your cloak, the stiffness of your body pressing itself into the ground beneath you. At first, the discomfort is sharp. Your shoulders ache, your legs pulse with heaviness, your hands throb from the relentless grip of stone. Yet slowly, as your breathing steadies, the ache softens into something you can bear. Fatigue acts as a bomb, urging your muscles into surrender, even as the earth reminds you of its hardness. The sky above is vast and unbroken. Without lamps, without city lights, the heavens stretch endlessly, an ocean of stars spilling across the dark. They shimmer with a clarity you rarely allow yourself to notice during the day, each one steady, cold, and luminous. You find your gaze drawn upward, tracing the patterns that others around you also know, shapes passed down in stories, in whispers, in the half-remembered teachings of elders. Somewhere out there, beyond the reach of your hands and beyond the wall itself, the same stars shine over villages, over rivers, over the places called home. That thought lingers with you as your eyelids grow heavier. You may be far from where you began, yet the sky is the same. The sounds of the night begin to settle into their rhythm. Crickets hum in the grasses, their song rising and falling like a tide. From a distance comes the faint howl of a wolf, carried faintly on the wind, reminding everyone in camp that the wilderness is always near. Somewhere closer, an ox shifts in its tether, the low groan of its breath mingling with the rustle of hay. Even the wind seems to move with intention, brushing gently over the canvas of tents and the jagged ridges, flowing like a slow breath through the valley. Not everyone sleeps easily. Here and there, you hear soft movements, a man rising to tend to an ember, another stepping quietly to relieve himself at the edge of camp, a guard's footsteps pacing the perimeter. These sounds, though faint, create a sense of presence, of quiet watchfulness that soothes as much as it unsettles. The night feels safer for being shared, yet at the same time, it carries its own unease. In the dark, imaginations stir. Every rustle in the grass might be something larger. Every flicker of shadow can feel like more than it is. Sleep, when it comes, is not always deep or unbroken. Dreams rise quickly, fueled by exhaustion and the day's relentless labor. You drift into them as if slipping beneath water, weightless and detached. Sometimes the dreams are simple, endless stones being carried one after another, your arms lifting until they blur into the rhythm of work itself. Other times they carry fragments of home faces of family members, the outline of fields in morning light, the sound of a river running past your childhood village. These dreams bring comfort, though they can also leave you aching when you wake. There are other dreams too, less soothing. The mind conjures fears when the body is weak. The wall itself appears in these darker visions, stretching not as a fortress, but as a barrier too vast to ever finish. You dream of walking along it, endless stones before you, your body unable to stop, or of the wilderness beyond, shadows moving in the hills, unseen presences that creep just beyond the firelight. You wake from these dreams with your heart pounding, disoriented by the darkness, until the steady crackle of embers and the sound of breathing around you remind you where you are. The guards, chosen from among the workers or appointed by the overseers, pace in slow circles at the edge of the camp. Their presence is a reminder that rest, though necessary, is never absolute. Bandits may roam these lands, drawn by the supplies of a camp or the vulnerability of weary laborers. The wilderness holds predators too, both human and animal. But in truth, danger rarely approaches in the dead of night. The sheer scale of the project and the sheer number of people involved creates a deterrent in itself. Still, the knowledge that you are being watched over, however imperfectly, eases your mind enough to surrender again to rest. The night deepens, the fires sink lower, their glow faint but steady, painting the shelters with shifting shadows. The stars drift slowly in their arcs across the sky, silent markers of time's passage. A sense of stillness grows heavier, as though the land itself has exhaled and entered its own slumber. For a time, there is nothing but the breath of the earth, the warmth of the body beside you, and the faint pulse of blood in your own ears. And yet, even in stillness, the wall itself never leaves your thoughts. Though unseen in the dark, it looms in your imagination, an unbroken line rising against the horizon. Its presence is constant, not only in stone but in spirit. It is the reason you are here, the force shaping your days and nights, dictating your labor, your rest, your very dreams. In the silence of night, you realize that the wall is not only built of stone, it is built of you, of your sweat, your hunger, your exhaustion, your persistence. In this way, you are as much a part of it as the stones you carry. As dawn approaches, though still far off, the faintest hints of change begin to stir. The cold intensifies, the stars gleam brighter in their final hours, and the camp shifts subtly. A few stir in their sleep, shifting to find warmth. A guard coughs softly in the distance. The oxen shift again, their heavy bodies restless, as if they sense the coming day before it arrives. The hours between deepest night and the first light are long, but they are also fleeting in memory, a blur of half-dreams and half-waking moments that merge into one another. You lie there, caught between wakefulness and rest, your mind weaving images from both worlds. The wall stretches endlessly in your thoughts, the stars hang timelessly above, and the warmth of those around you anchors you in the present. Slowly, gently, you surrender once more to sleep, knowing that when morning comes, the cycle will begin again. Work, stone, sweat, hunger, rest. Yet for now, in the stillness of night, there is peace, fragile, fleeting, but enough. The embers glow faintly, the stars shine coldly, and the world waits quietly for the return of light. You close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the silence cradle you until dawn. The night lingers longer than it feels it should, stretched thin and heavy like a blanket drawn over the camp. Hours pass in a rhythm of shallow dreams, half-waking moments, and the slow turning of bodies against the hard ground. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, the stillness begins to shift. The stars that seemed so endless only a short time ago fade slightly, their brilliance dimmed by the faintest intrusion of light on the horizon. The darkness softens, as though a hand has brushed gently across the sky, smudging the edges of the night. Your breath curls in the cold air, visible now as faint threads of mist that linger before dissolving. The sharpness of the chill, deeper at this hour than at any point in the night, settling into bones and joints with a persistence that makes movement feel impossible. This is the hour before dawn, the one when bodies seem heaviest, when the warmth of sleep is most difficult to abandon. Yet slowly, inevitably, the camp begins to stir. The first sounds are small, almost hesitant, a cough from a nearby shelter, the creak of wood as someone shifts against a support beam, a quiet murmur from two men sharing the same cloak, one waking, the other not yet ready to leave the fragile hold of sleep. From the edge of camp comes the shuffle of a guard returning from his slow circuit, boots crunching against frozen soil. The overseers, though still at rest themselves, keep a watchful awareness. They will rise soon, voices sharp against the morning air, but for now their silence lingers, giving these early moments a rare gentleness. There is a shared unspoken reluctance among the workers, an understanding that this small pocket of time, however cold and weary, belongs still to them. A faint orange line appears against the distant ridges, subtle yet undeniable. Dawn is near. The sky shifts in tone, from black to deep indigo to the muted grey that signals the world's slow return to waking. The fires, which burned low throughout the night, are coaxed back into life. A spark here, a handful of straw there, and soon the embers flare, their glow spilling outward, sending thin trails of smoke curling into the cool air. Workers gather close, their bodies hunched against the cold, palms stretched toward the heat. The fire crackles softly, a sound that feels like comfort after the long silence of the night. The air smells of smoke, of earth, of bodies that have lain too long in the same clothes. Yet there is something grounding in these scents, something that binds everyone together. You take it in with each breath, sharp at first, then familiar, the kind of air that reminds you where you are and why you are here. The wall waits, the work waits, and the day begins whether you are ready or not. From one pot, the first thin gruel of the morning is stirred, steam rising faintly into the chill. The smell is plain, barely grain, mostly water, but it is enough to rouse the hunger that always lingers, the emptiness that never fully disappears. You wait your turn, cupping your hands around the rough bowl that is pressed into them, feeling the heat seep slowly into your fingers. The liquid is swallowed quickly, more warmth than sustenance, but even this small meal carries you forward, reminding you that your body can endure a little longer. Around you, the camp grows louder. Voices rise in low tones, not cheerful, not eager, but resigned in their familiarity. Men tie cloth tighter around their waists, adjust the bands across their feet, secure cloaks against their shoulders. Women who tend to the workers offer what they can, an extra wrap of cloth, a murmured word of encouragement, a hand briefly on a shoulder before being pulled back into the press of morning duties. It is not a soft scene, but it is a human one. In the midst of stone and labor, there is still the rhythm of care. The overseers rise now, their presence cutting through the fragile quiet of dawn. Their voices are sharper, carrying authority that cannot be ignored. Orders are called, names barked, tasks assigned even before the sun has fully broken the horizon. Yet even in this, there is a rhythm that has become familiar. The workers move without question, not because they wish to, but because resistance feels as impossible as halting the rising of the sun. You walk with the others toward the wall itself, your body stiff, your breath visible in each exhale. The path is uneven, the earth frozen in patches, but feet tread it with practiced certainty. Ahead, the wall rises again into view, its stones dark against the muted light of early morning. It stretches in both directions, vanishing into distance, a reminder of its enormity, of the endlessness of the task. The horizon brightens now, pale gold spilling slowly across the ridges. The sun itself is not yet visible, but its promise colors the sky, drawing lines of warmth that the earth has not yet felt. You pause for a moment, your eyes lifting toward it, taking in the sweep of light that marks the start of another day. There is something quieting in that view, something steadying. For all the hardship, for all the hunger and fatigue, there is still beauty in the morning, still a sense of connection to the world itself. At the wall, the tools await. Wooden scaffolds creak softly in the chill, their surfaces stiff with frost. Ropes hang stiff, but ready, their fibers rough against the hand. Stones sit where they were left the day before, heavy and unmoved, waiting for bodies to lift them once more. The sight of them is daunting, a reminder of the weight that lies ahead. Yet there is also familiarity. You have seen these same stones, these same tools, day after day. They are not new enemies, but old ones, known and expected. The first tasks of the day begin slowly. Stones are shifted, mortar mixed, ropes tightened. The overseers call for pace, but bodies, still stiff from night, resist at first. The work is not rushed yet, but it will be soon. For now, the rhythm is one of warming the body, of coaxing muscles back into motion, of letting the sun's first rays spread gently over the stones. The sun finally crests the horizon, a disk of gold emerging slowly, spilling light across the valley. The warmth is faint at first, hardly enough to cut the cold, but it carries with it something greater, a sense of renewal, a reminder that time moves forward, that the night has ended and the day is alive once more. The workers lift their faces toward it, if only briefly, taking in its glow before returning their eyes to the stones. You feel the light touch your skin, cool still, but warming slowly. And in that moment you allow yourself a single thought. You have endured another night, and you will endure another day. It is not triumph, not joy, but a quiet resilience that carries you forward. The overseers press harder now, their voices carrying urgency. The rhythm of work grows louder, tools striking stone, ropes tightening, bodies groaning with effort. The camp behind you empties fully. The fires reduce to faint trails of smoke as all attention turns once more to the wall. The world has shifted from the stillness of night to the labor of day, and there is no space between. Still, in that brief window before the sun fully claims the sky, before the heat of toil overcomes the chill of morning, you hold the memory of the dawn close. Its light lingers in your mind even as your hands find stone once again, even as the weight returns to your back. The night has passed, the day has begun, and the wall rises still. The morning haze has fully lifted, and with it the quiet gentleness of dawn is replaced by a sharper energy. The sun, now rising higher, spreads across the ridges in sheets of pale gold, painting the stones of the wall in new light. Its warmth is still hesitant, struggling against the lingering chill of the earth, but it is enough to stir movement into its full stride. The workday is no longer a thought on the horizon. It is here. The first orders come crisp and insistent, barked by overseers whose voices echo against the stone. Their commands cut through the low murmur of workers, pushing bodies into motion, insisting that the rhythm of labor return with speed. The wall does not build itself, and every delay is noticed, every hesitation addressed with sharp reminders. You hear them call out, not with cruelty alone, but with the urgency of those who have been given their own orders from above. The wall is more than stone. It is a symbol of power, and power does not tolerate idleness. The tools are gathered. Hands wrap around rough wooden handles, the fibers biting into skin already marked by use. The weight of each tool is familiar now, almost an extension of your own body. You feel its heft, its balance, the strain it demands of muscles that are still waking. Beside you, others adjust ropes, lifting them to loop around the stones that wait in small mountains at the base of the slope. The air fills with the scrape of wood against stone, the creak of scaffolding. It adjusts under the strain, the dull thud of heavy blocks being rolled into position. Your task is clear. The stone before you is massive, its surface uneven, its edges sharp. With the help of others, you brace your shoulders against it, leaning into the effort. Feet press against the earth, legs straining as the stone begins to shift. The sound of it moving is deep, grinding, almost like a growl from the earth itself. Inch by inch, with grunts of effort and the pull of rope, it begins to climb the slope toward its place in the wall. Sweat comes quickly despite the chill. Your back grows damp, your breath quickens, your heart drums against your ribs. The work requires everything: strength, balance, focus. You glance at the others, their faces tight with strain, their eyes narrowed against the effort. There is no need for words in these moments. Each person knows what must be done, and each body contributes in its way. A push here, a lift there, the tightening of a rope, the bracing of a scaffold. The rhythm is unspoken, but it binds you all together. The overseers watch, calling encouragement laced with command, urging more speed, more effort. Their presence is sharp, but it is also constant, a reminder that you are never truly alone in your labor. Their eyes are upon you, measuring, judging, ensuring that the pace does not falter. You feel their gaze like the weight of an additional stone, pressing upon your back as surely as the block before you. The stone reaches its position at last, heaved into place with a final coordinated effort. The sound it makes as it settles is solid, resonant, like the closing of a door. It becomes part of the wall, one block among countless others, indistinguishable once set. You stand back for a moment, breathing heavily, feeling your muscles tremble from the strain. Yet even as your body cries out for rest, the next stone awaits. There is no pause, only the endless rhythm of one block after another, one day after another, the wall stretching farther and farther. The sun climbs higher, its warmth strengthening now, its light bright upon the stones. The chill of morning fades, replaced by a heat that clings to your skin and makes each breath feel heavier. Sweat trickles down your brow, stinging your eyes, slipping into the rough weave of your tunic. The air grows thick with its sweat, dust, the faint tang of mortar. The scent is unyielding, a constant reminder of the labor that consumes the day. Around you, the workers move like a single great body, each limb performing its part. Some lift, some carry, some mix the mortar with long wooden paddles, their arms working in steady circles. The sound of it is endless stone grinding against stone, rope straining under tension, the dull rhythm of hammers shaping edges. It is not music, but it has a cadence, a steady beat that fills the air and anchors the hours. The wall itself looms higher as the morning advances. Where yesterday there was an unfinished stretch, now the outline rises, each new block layering upon the last. From a distance, the progress may seem small, barely visible against the enormity of the task, but up close, you see it, the way the structure grows under your very hands, the way each stone transforms the landscape. It is as though the earth itself is being reshaped, molded into a line that will stretch farther than the eye can follow. Fatigue begins to seep in before long. Shoulders ache, hands blister, legs tremble with exertion. You are not alone in this. Around you, others pause briefly to stretch aching backs, to wipe sweat from their brows, to catch a breath before bending again to the task. The overseers notice, and their voices rise, calling for discipline, but even they know that the body can only be pushed so far before it falters. The day is long, and the pace must be endured, not burned out too quickly. You press on, each stone a challenge, each lift a test of endurance. The rhythm consumes you, narrowing your world to the immediate. This stone, this rope, this step. Time passes strangely here. Minutes blur into hours, hours into a flow of labor marked only by the shift of light across the sky. The sun climbs higher, and the heat grows sharper, but you continue, carried forward not by choice, but by necessity. Amid the labor, there are moments of quiet connection, A glance exchanged with another worker, both of you sharing the same exhaustion. A brief hand extended to steady a comrade as a stone slips, the small wordless gratitude in their eyes. A shared gulp of water from a skin passed down the line, each sip precious, each swallow a relief. These are not grand gestures, but they are enough. They remind you that though the work is unrelenting, you do not endure it alone. The overseers, too, shift in tone as the day advances. Their voices remain sharp, but there is less bite now, replaced by the recognition that the work is being done. They call less often, stepping back to watch, to note the progress, to ensure the pace holds steady. Their presence is always felt, but it is less suffocating, giving the workers room to fall into their own rhythm. By midday, the wall stands taller than it did at dawn, its new stones glinting in the sunlight. The progress is undeniable, yet the enormity of what remains stretches endlessly. You cannot see the end, not here, not now. It lies too far in the distance, beyond the horizon. For now, all that matters is the next stone, the next lift, the next breath. The sun burns brighter, the air shimmers faintly with heat, and your body aches with every motion. Yet you endure. The wall demands it, the overseers demand it, and perhaps, somewhere deep within, you demand it of yourself. Each stone is a burden, but also a testament, a marker of your presence, your effort, your existence written in stone upon the earth. The day presses on, the labor unceasing, the wall rising, and you, one among many, remain part of its creation. Your strength woven into its foundation, your sweat absorbed into its stones. The work continues, the wall grows, and the day unfolds, one stone at a time. The sun hangs high for what feels like forever, suspended in a sky that seems vast, relentless, and almost indifferent to the bodies laboring below. By now, your muscles are worn threads stretched to their limit, each motion deliberate, carved out of sheer determination. Your breath is heavy, your chest rising and falling with effort, the rhythm of labor and fatigue intertwined. The wall stands taller than it did this morning, its outline against the sky sharper now, its form unmistakably growing. Yet the day is far from done, the heat has settled deep into the stones. They radiate warmth back into the air, surrounding you in a cocoon of rising heat. Dust clings to your sweat-damp skin, turning it into a gritty second layer, the smell of earth and stone filling your senses. Each time you pause, even for a moment, you feel the tremble in your arms, the ache in your lower back, the sting of blisters reopening under the strain of wood and rope. Still, the wall demands, the overseers' voices remain, though less sharp now, not because their vigilance has eased, but because they too are weathered by the passing hours. Their commands are fewer, their pace slower, as though even authority itself is softened by the weight of the afternoon. They patrol with measured steps, their eyes on the workers, their minds calculating the balance between progress and exhaustion. Stone after stone finds its place, some smaller, guided into gaps, sealed with mortar, others enormous, requiring the strength of many hands, the coordination of bodies moving as one. You lend your shoulder once more to a rope, bracing your feet against the slope as the block creaks upward. Your muscles scream in protest, but the stone shifts, rises, and with effort settles into the waiting arms of the wall. Another addition, another fraction of progress. The sun shifts westward, and the light begins to change. Shadows grow longer, stretching across the earth, reaching like dark fingers between the stones. The heat lingers, but its edge dulls, its intensity giving way to a softer warmth. A breeze stirs now and then, light against your face, carrying with it the faint sense of grass and distant cooking fires, where others, far removed from this endless labor, prepare their evening meals. The thought is fleeting, but it lingers, reminding you of hunger waiting, of the small comfort of food that will follow the day's work. Around you, the murmurs of workers grow louder between commands, voices that were silent under the overseer's stern watch, now finding space to rise. Snatches of conversation slip between the clank of stone and the rasp of rote quiet words of encouragement. Weary jokes passed between laborers, the small human sounds of people carrying burdens together. Laughter bubbles once, surprising in its presence, but brief, quickly swallowed again by effort. Yet its echo lingers, a reminder that even in hardship, something lighter survives. Your own body moves almost without thought now. The rhythm is ingrained, the motions familiar: lift, brace, pull, push. Each stone is another test, but also another step closer to the end of the day. The hours stretch long, yet there is comfort in knowing they do end. No wall, no overseer, no sun lasts forever. Dusk will come, the day will close. At last, the overseers call for a pause, their voices carrying across the sight with authority softened by fatigue. The shift is not sudden, but gradual, like the slowing of a great machine. Tools are lowered, ropes are released, shoulders slump, hands fall to sides. The silence that follows is deep, vast, filled only by the whisper of wind and the faint call of birds settling into their evening nests. It is a silence of relief, of bodies released from their chains of labor. You stand for a moment, letting the stillness sink in. Your arms ache, your legs are heavy, your skin sticky with sweat and dust. Yet you breathe, deep and steady, savoring the simple act of rest. Around you, others do the same, their faces drawn but softened, their eyes catching the last glimmers of light with quiet resilience. Together, you begin the slow descent from the wall. The scaffolds creak underfoot as groups move carefully downward, hands steadying themselves against wooden beams worn smooth from use. The earth beneath feels solid, almost comforting for a day spent high above it. Each step toward camp is heavy, but it carries you closer to rest, closer to food, closer to sleep. The path back winds gently through the hills, the wall looming above, its newly laid stones gleaming faintly in the setting sun. You look back once, tracing its line as it stretches into the distance, its vastness humbling, its permanence undeniable. You know your part in it is small, a single day, a single stone among countless others. Yet it matters. Each stone matters. Each hand matters. And somewhere in the future, long after your own presence has faded, the wall will remain. Camp comes into view, a cluster of tents and makeshift shelters nestled against the land. Smoke rises from small fires already burning, carrying with it the smell of cooking grain, of simple stews thick with whatever could be gathered. The sight alone stirs your hunger, sharp and insistent now after a day of labor. Your stomach rumbles, the promise of food pulling you forward with new energy. You join the others, easing into the familiar routines of evening. Tools are stacked, ropes coiled, buckets set aside. Water is splashed onto faces, onto arms, washing away the heaviest layers of dust, though never all of it. The coolness of it is a balm, brief but soothing. Then comes the food wooden bowls passed down the line, filled with steaming porridge, thick and plain, but filling. You eat slowly, savoring each mouthful, the warmth spreading through your tired body, grounding you, anchoring you in the moment. Voices rise around the fires, low conversations, quiet laughter, the murmur of shared exhaustion. Stories pass from one group to another, sometimes whispered, sometimes spoken with greater energy, tales of families left behind, of villages far away, of dreams beyond the wall. They are stories that keep spirits alive, threads of connection woven between people bound together by labor. You listen, perhaps even contribute, your own words mingling with theirs, your voice part of the fabric of the camp. The sky deepens as the meal ends, fading from gold to rose to the soft indigo of night. Stars prick the horizon one by one, shy at first, then bold, until the heavens glitter with countless points of light. The fires burn lower, casting flickering shadows across tired faces. One by one, bodies recline upon mats and blankets, eyes heavy, breath slowing. The camp settles into quiet, the great wall looming nearby, its stones glowing faintly beneath the moon's soft light. You lie down, your body grateful for the stillness. Muscles unwind, breath deepens, the earth beneath you cool and steady. Above, the stars stretch endless, a reminder that the wall, vast as it is still only a line upon the earth, small beneath the sky. You close your eyes, the sounds of the camp fading, the weight of the day lifting slowly from your shoulders. And here, as the fire dwindles and the night deepens, we will leave you. Thank you for journeying through another long day along the Great Wall, for walking in the footsteps of those who carried stones and shaped history with their hands. If you've enjoyed this quiet time together, I invite you to leave a like, to subscribe if you'd like more journeys like this, and to comment below. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is for you as you drift off. I always love to see where our little community is joining from. For now, though, rest easy. The work is done, the fires are low, the stars are bright. Close your eyes, let go of the day, and sleep well. Good night.